Do you find that sometimes you say to yourself things like, I'll just do another hour, I'll power through. I'll sleep in at the weekends. I'll burn the candle at both ends. Well, if so, then I think we tend to end up mentally exhausted, overwhelmed and anxious. And as a culture, we seem to have moved away from the practice of a daily or weekly rest. And I want to break this down for you this week and break it down into 3 sections so that you can start to see why rest needs to be in your day and your week and how you can go about doing it in a way that suits you and feels great. So, first of all, why might we want to cultivate a rest and relaxation practice? And my number 1 thing here is your nervous system. We are not supposed to live in survival mode. We are not designed to do that. And every time we have these notifications, events and crises in our lives, then it pitches us into fight or flight mode. And over time, that can cause a really overactive stress response. And so we end up anxious and exhausted. And from a place of anxiety and exhaustion, then quite often in today's culture, then we're just taught to do more. And it can make rest and relaxation really challenging. And so my question to you is, are you a busyaholic? Do you try and overcome exhaustion by actually trying to do more and trying to prevent yourself from feeling that anxiety or that exhaustion? Guilty. Definitely, I have done that in the past, and I'm sure I will as well multiple times in the future too. So you're not alone. And as we start to recognize this, everyone's situation experiences are different. So I'd really like to point out and highlight to you that your body and your mind and your nervous system have adapted to get you through whatever it is that you've been or whatever has happened to you in your life. So come to or approach that from a place of respect and honor. If you have any sort of trauma or if you have any feelings that you haven't addressed, anything like that, it can make a rest and relaxation practice more daunting and sometimes more challenging. So honor that place. Your mind and your body and your nervous system have tried to protect you and have done their best to get you through challenging situations. And so therefore we can only honor those efforts and hold a safe space for them. Okay. So a rest and relaxation practice is about training your nervous system. I'd now like to go through a few themes that I think are really important as part of a rest and relaxation practice. And before I do, I'd love for you to head down to the comment section, leave me a little message there as to about what you found useful so far in this video and coming up, and then also hit subscribe so that you get notified for any other videos. Okay, so now some themes for your rest and relaxation practice. And the first one is find contentment in your current life and find connection in your current life. So if you go through your days saying things like, oh, I'll rest when I get that promotion, we've moved house, the kids are grown up, then that isn't an environment and a mindset conducive to allowing yourself or giving yourself permission to rest and relax. You can practice being content and connecting truly, warmly, and with love with the people around you right now. You don't need to wait for the promotion, for when you quit your job, for when you move house, etc. Start now with where you're at and the current circumstances in your life. Secondly, plan your rest. Take responsibility for your time. You do not have to be a victim in this. You can approach it and block out a couple of minutes is all is needed in order to cultivate. And don't listen necessarily to those inner voices that say this is a waste of time. I don't have time to do this. I should be doing this, this and this. It'd be far more useful. Because is that true? Because we've all heard that pouring from an empty cup only goes so far. You need to fill yourself up. So plan your rest. Take responsibility for your rest. Thirdly, embrace simplicity. So a rest and relaxation practice does not have to be an expensive massage or the latest acupressure mat or fancy smelly candles. It does not have to be that. If you have a sofa, a bed, if you have some way to dim the lighting, like, you can just start really small. It starts with the time, and everyone can make that time back to that point too. So sit on your chair or lie on your bed and start with where you're at. And as you begin to develop your practice, maybe you'd like to then add in different things to set the scene, but just start with where you're at. And then finally, realize when a culture that is so focused on results starts to become unhelpful. And that can show up in things like, oh, this is a waste of time. I should be doing this instead of this. I'm exhausted, but I've still got my to-do list and I'm still going to push through it. And I'm not saying that you don't have to be results focused, but be aware when it becomes an unhelpful prompt. There's some times when we've got to get through stuff and we have to get certain things done. But actually quite often that's less than we think. And just be aware of those prompts that are pulling you away from rest, because ultimately if you don't, then your life is unsustainable, and either things will start to nag and niggle at you and the stress will build up over years. It can lead to much bigger health problems. So notice now and keep your cup filled up daily, weekly, so that the big things to do with not resting and stress don't ever happen. And then finally, this is section number 3. I want to break down some relaxation practices that I myself find really enjoyable. So, and I say enjoyable, sometimes it's not enjoyable every day. Remember, rest and relaxation can be challenging, and sometimes you kind of sit there or lie there thinking, oh my god, I want this to be over, I've got this to do straight afterwards. So these are things that I found helpful. And if you are up for the challenge, then starting Saturday the 6th of February, I'm going to do a 7-day challenge based on these 7 things, these 7 practices that I'm going to tell you about. You can join in on social media. So follow the Plan Harrogate on Facebook and Instagram to join in with the challenge and a chance to win some relaxing goodies to support your relaxation practice. Okay, so this is the first thing that we can do, and it's micro moments of stillness. Because quite often, if you start off with even 5 minutes, that can be very difficult. So take maybe 6 deep breaths. And if you're going to take a longer practice, then I really encourage you to create yourself a safe, warm and comfortable environment. So choose the lighting, the music, the playlists, the scents that make your body and your mind feel comfortable, so that you can give yourself permission to relax in that space because you know that it's safe. So start with your 6 deep breaths, your 10 deep breaths. Set a timer for 2 minutes or 5 minutes and close your eyes. So remove the stimulus of sight, which our brain really responds to. Close your eyes and breathe. Sometimes it might be nice to place a hand to heart and hand to belly, and that can just deepen the connection with the breath and just feeling the moment, as opposed to your mind skidding around all over the place. If your mind's doing that, then that's okay. Like, don't label it as wrong or judge it. As I said, we're training the nervous system. So the first time you do it, if it's the first time you've consciously chosen to relax in a long time, then yeah, it's going to be difficult. Your mind will be all over the place. So the first thing that we can do are these micro moments. Be and breathe is what I like to call them. The second relaxation practice that we can have a go at is a guided meditation. Silent meditations are fantastic as well, but for the person who's new to meditation, I think a guided one is a really gentle entry point. It can be really helpful to start to understand what the practice is all about. And all you need again is 5-10 minutes. Sit yourself down. You don't need to go walk up a mountain or make certain signs with your hands. You don't need to sit on the floor. Again, comfortable, safe, warm place. choose a guided meditation, press play. There's lots on YouTube. Some of my favourite apps for this are Calm, Insight Timer, Headspace, and Stop, Breathe and Think. So they all have loads of guided meditations on there. Loads of them are free as well. And then obviously YouTube is a fantastic place to find some. So guided meditation, there's so many different types. So if you try one and you think that was rubbish, then find another. There's so many out there that you will find one that gels with you. Third one, restorative poses. This is possibly my favourite, maybe my second favourite. You have to listen into the next couple. So restorative poses are ones that are held for a long time, and they're supported by lots of props and blankets, and therefore they're really lovely. So certain ones might be things like legs up the wall, Viparita Karani, as it's known in yoga. It might be like a child's pose, it might be a forward fold, it might be a very gentle twist. They are just fantastic as you start to let time and gravity work to unravel your body. And again, it's just a case of closing the eyes, breathing slowly, being aware, and notice how your body is feeling. They should feel comfortable. And every time you get distracted and you catch yourself thinking, you bring yourself back to focus on the breath. So that is a great one to start if you're new to a relaxation practice. And I think a restorative pose can be a very cozy place to start. Okay, we're on to number 4 this is. And the next one is called binaural beats. And if you've not heard of them before, this is quite a new one to me too. So essentially you need to have some earphones or some headphones. So it doesn't work if just there's an external device playing it. And it's 2 frequencies of beats, and the 2 go from the left and from the right ear, and the 2 kind of intertwine and intermesh. And there's some studies emerging that suggest that binaural beats can be great for starting to relieve anxiety and stress. Again, that can be a nice one to pair with things as well. So in your be and breathe practice or a restorative pose, you can be listening to those. Next one is something called tapping, and if you want to find it on Google, then you can type in tapping or EFT, emotional freedom technique. And tapping involves taking your fingers and tapping on certain parts of your body. And I very much suggest that you do something guided along with this. Tapping can be used to address all sorts of different things. Emotional releases can come with them. So I think being guided through a process by a properly trained person is quite a good idea. I use the Tapping Solution app, and it's literally you just take the fingers and you tap in places like the inside of the eyebrows, the corners of the eyes, under the eyes, nose, just under the nose, the chin, onto just below the collarbones, underneath the arm and top of the head. And you just cycle through that tapping process. And I personally do this one in the evening, and I think it's my favourite. It's quite a nice bridge for me between mind and body. So you can find quite a meditative state whilst actually releasing and doing something with your body. So that's tapping. The app that I use is called the Tapping Solution. But again, you can get yourself onto YouTube. There's lots of free things on that. We have 2 left. So the next one is a breathing practice. And obviously as a yoga teacher, I've just said tapping was my favourite, but now I'm not so sure. So breathing practices, I love them. So there's a few soothing ones that we use in yin yoga all the time. And you can search, if you're doing the challenge with me, I'll guide you through some of these. But some ideas are resonance breathing, so equal inhales, equal exhales. Box breathing, which is breathing in for a count of, say, 3, holding for a count of 3, exhaling for a count of 3, and then holding for a count of 3. And then the other one is alternate nostril breathing. And you can Google that, and they're really soothing. They're fantastic before you go to bed. You can do them for just 2 minutes. And then finally, Yoga Nidra is my final suggestion for a relaxation practice. And Yoga Nidra is probably one of the most accessible forms of yoga because you lie down, you're supposed to lie down, and it's also known as yogic sleep. So it's a way of achieving a meditative state. You can fall asleep, but a lot of practices prompt you to not fall asleep or try not to fall asleep. And it is suggested that, say, like half an hour of yoga nidra is equivalent or gives the body enough restoration as 30 minutes of deep sleep. So I really recommend that one as well. You do need a little bit more time for that one. So most of the ones I've looked at say are about 20-ish minutes. There's some on YouTube again. So Google Yoga Nidra, and again, that is a fantastic practice to really, truly find a deep sense of relaxation. Okay, let me know below which of those practices did you try, which was your favourite, and join me in the relaxation challenge starting the 6th of February, where I'm going to guide you through these 6 practices, and we're going to start a habit to train our nervous system and become more relaxed humans.